Y'all, welcome to our first flipped lesson for this year, talking about volume of cylinders. So this will be relating to lessons 3.02 and 3.03 in your online school. So what we're going to be looking at today is how do you find the volume of a cylinder? So let's just jump right in. A cylinder here is this three-dimensional figure, and it has two congruent parallel bases, and then this curved surface that joins them. When you're looking at volume formulas, really the only formula that you need to be aware of is base times height. So when you're looking at base times height, the base of this cylinder is a circle. So the base of the cylinder is a circle. So if you look here, base is a circle. Well, that's where we get this formula from. The area for our circle is pi r squared. So we're going to take the area of this circle and we're just going to add height to it, and that is what gives us our volume. So the formula for a cylinder is volume equals pi r squared h. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this practice problem here, right? So it says find the volume for a cylinder with a radius, r stands for radius, of 4 feet and a height of 3 feet. What we need to look at is we need to look at that formula. So volume equals pi r squared h, where this r stands for the radius. So r stands for radius. So looking at this volume example here, I am just going to plug in what they give me. I'm going to plug in my 4, I'm going to square it, and I'm going to plug in my height. So to find the exact volume of the cylinder, we're going to square 4. So 4 times 4 is 16. And then we're going to multiply that by 3. So when we're looking at volume, I would really encourage you to, make sure that you have a calculator available to you. You can use that online one I've given you all before. But let's go ahead and punch that in. So 16 times 3 is equal to 48. So when we're looking at our volume here, our exact volume is 48 pi feet cubed. So when you're looking for exact volume, we're going to leave this pi symbol alone. However, when they want the approximate volume, we're going to multiply by pi. So if you look on your calculator, you'll probably see a little pi symbol, that little symbol. Pi is equivalent to 3.14, and there's a lot of decimals that follow that. But if you hit that pi button, it will give you this very long decimal answer that we're going to round to the nearest hundredth. So you would be looking at 150.80 feet cubed. That would be our approximate volume. All right, so what I want you to do now is I want you to pause this video for just a moment and go ahead and try this one on your own. So find the volume of a cylinder given that the radius is 8 and the height is 2. I hope that gave you just a moment to go ahead and find this volume. So recall the formula: volume equals pi r squared h, where that r is our radius. So we're going to plug that radius in, we're going to square it, we're going to plug in that height. 8 squared is 64, so 64 times 2, 64 times 2, 128. So our exact volume is 128 pi. Our approximate volume rounded to the nearest tenth, we're going to multiply that by pi, and you should get approximately 402.1 centimeters cubed. How did you do? Didn't quite get that? That's okay. Maybe go ahead and rewatch this part before moving on to the next example. All right, here we go. Now we've got a nice diagram. Find the volume of the cylinder. So when we're looking at this cylinder, this 14 is representing my radius. So a radius is half the length of that circle. This 22 is representing my height. So we're going to be just looking at the same thing here. Volume equals pi r squared h. We are just going to pull those two numbers again. Our radius of 14, our height of 22. And we're going to start solving. So 14 times 14, because that is our radius squared, would give me 196 times 22. My exact volume is 4,312 pi. That is quite the big number. So if I multiply that by pi, I am going to end up with a volume of this cylinder that is 13,546.55 centimeters cubed. The biggest thing here is to understand that when you're looking at this diagram, half of the length of that circle is our radius. So when you're given a diagram, you have to be able to pull those two pieces of information. So I want you to go ahead and practice here. Find the volume of this cylinder given the diagram. Hopefully you had a moment here to go ahead and plug in this formula. There we go. Your radius you would have taken from the top here, which is 6. That is our radius, and our height would have been that 10. So pi times our radius squared times our height. 6 times 6 is 36 times 10. So we're looking at 360 pi meters. And if we want our approximate volume rounded to the nearest tenth, 1,130 point. Ooh, this is going to end up making this. So I got 9.7 in my calculator. But since they want the nearest tenth, we'll be looking at 1,131.0 meters cubed. Okay, how'd you do? If you didn't quite get those numbers, let's try to recalculate, right? Try to recalculate before you move on. Last two, we're going to finish up here, deal with a real world problem. So you have a box of oatmeal that's shaped like a cylinder. So when you're given these word problems and they don't come with a diagram, draw something. The height of this box is 7 inches. The radius is 2 inches. So what is the volume of the box of oatmeal? So when you're given a word problem and you don't have a diagram, I would really encourage you to make sure that you do, in fact, draw a diagram so that you can then use that formula we've been using in those last 4 examples to help us find our volume. So our volume would be 28 pi if we want that exact volume. Or if we take 28, we multiply by that pi button in our calculators to the nearest hundredth, we would have 87.96 inches cubed. Last example for this video, I want you to find the volume of this cylinder that represents a can of tuna, given the radius and the height. So what is the exact volume? Go ahead and pause and try to find out what is that exact volume. Some time to solve this problem. So remember, we're looking at this can of tuna. If you've ever seen a can of tuna, you can imagine that it's this short little can here. There we go. That has a radius. Remember, radius is half of that length of the top circle, 4.25, and a height of 4. So when we plug this into that formula, we're going to be squaring 4.25 times that height of 4. So this one I'm going to need my calculator for. 4.25 squared is approximately, where did my, there we go, 18.0625 times 4. So our exact volume will be 72.25 pi centimeters cubed. All right, guys, great job. Make sure that if you have any questions or comments on this lesson or the practice problems, you let me know, and we will answer those questions. Thank you and have a great day.